Intentional Currency podcast. My name is Yasmeen. I'm the founder of the Intentional Currency, and our mission is to help Muslim women take control of their money, build wealth in a way that's pleasing to Allah, and feel confident making financial decisions that serve their families and their communities. In this podcast, we're bringing you real conversations from some incredible women who share our mission. These women are leaders, change makers, and financial literacy advocates from around the world. Together, we'll explore what it means to create wealth that's rooted in faith and designed to have a positive impact. Each guest brings their own journey, their struggles, their wins, whether it's setting up an emergency fund, learning how to invest, or figuring out how to manage finance and family. Our hope is that their stories inspire you, empower you, and remind you that financial empowerment is for every Muslim woman who wants it. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's get into the conversation.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Intentional Currency podcast. I'm so excited to have a very special guest with me here today, Mohammad Faiz, who is a wealth specialist, specializes in breaking down halal investing in a way that's very easy to understand. Today, we're going to be talking about the wealth of trading experience that you have. We're going to go into a whole bunch of different products like Forex, options, and he's going to give some education around sort of the best strategies that you can use to grow wealth as a Muslim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah, and salam alaikum to the people hearing the podcast. So I'm currently a wealth specialist at Manzil, but my background in investments and finance have been going for a little less than 10 years, 9 years and some change. And in trading since 2014, so 11 years, alhamdulillah. I went through the banking system as in multiple positions, and then I let all that aside and alhamdulillah joined Manzil.
Alhamdulillah. So you are a very experienced trader. Can you share a little bit about how you ended up in halal investing?
So we're going to have to go back to the financial world before the trading. I started working as a teller in a bank, in one of the big banks. And initially you get there, you're like, Bismillah, I'm going to be the Wolf of Wall Street. And then you realize that probably as a Muslim, that's not what you want to be. Initially you get faced with credit card and you're like, it's a credit card. It's not that bad. You don't pay interest after if you pay it on time. Then it gets to loans and then mortgages. And then you try to put all that aside. And I worked in, as I said, wealth operations and mutual funds. And then you realize that even there's some income investing which touches riba. Often we think that riba is only with interest, with loans, but it's also with investing. And then I put that aside and I got a position in private wealth. And I was like, alhamdulillah, now I'm set. Bismillah, this is my sprint. And I realized that everything that I was doing in a bigger scale, right? With private wealth, the clients are bigger, the funds are bigger, and the interest is bigger. And the funds that we put in the equity is also stakes in things that I wasn't sure which was halal or haram. And I took a year aside in 2020, and I just looked at what I was doing, how I was feeling, and I realized that there's always something in my heart saying, this is not right. Yes, you have an income. Yes, you're using your income for halal, but it's not coming from a halal place. And I went to multiple sheikhs, and they would always comfort me in saying, listen, it's difficult in our society to find a big financial institution that's going to be there for you and do everything the halal way. So some of the sheikhs were telling me, without name dropping obviously, some of them were telling me that do your best, avoid whatever you can avoid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees your niyyah, right? And others were telling me, if you do a change of practice, Allah's going to open doors for you. So I was in between those two situations. And then I went back to the bank and worked in retail brokerages. So that's when I really was able to sharpen my trading even more. I was seeing multiple type of accounts, people putting in trades, in options, and derivatives, and futures, and GICs. So back to the income investing and interest rates. And I realized that once again, it always gets back to something haram in our situation. That's when I started looking to the IOFI standards. And that's when I realized that most of what I was doing was haram. So that's when I came up to learning that there is a way of doing halal things. And if you have a good niyyah and you search for it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to give you an opening, basically.
It's very true. And it's a huge testament to your faith that you were able to give all of that up and do things in the right way. Now, you mentioned a couple words that often end up in my DMs. So working specifically with women, there are a lot of companies that sort of target Muslim women and encourage them to invest in things like Forex and things like options. You do have experience with it. So can you explain why this is something, first of all, whether it's halal or not, but also if this is something that would be profitable for a Muslim woman to go into?
So let's break it down into two segments. Let's start with Forex and then options. And let's call it shariah-compliant to make it more simple and go by what the standards are. Let's say by the IOFI, which is what we go by, mashallah, which is the most renowned one. When it comes to Forex, to break it down to people who don't know, It's very simple. You basically invest on a currency against another one. So let's say if you think gold is going to go high versus the US dollar, you put your money into that. If it goes high, you make money. If it goes low, you lose money, right? Some people think it's very simple. It's not, because it's often, very often leveraged. As soon as you have something that's leveraged, you pay interest. If you hold a position overnight, even if it's a cent, you pay interest. But then can you guarantee me you're not going to hold it overnight? What do you do if your position is red and you have to keep it, right? So you're going to tell yourself, one day I'm going to do halal, the other day if I can't and I have to hold it, I'm going to do haram. That's one thing. The other thing is, when it comes to Sharia compliancy, in Islam, there's a concept where you have to hold the product before being able to sell it. So I can't technically, in Sharia, I cannot buy something from you without having it and go sell it to someone else. So when it comes to going back to, let's say, the stocks and options and everything, and even when it comes to currency, if you buy it 1 second, sell it, there was never that pattern of transaction, right? And then that's a Sharia compliant way. After that, when it comes to actual factual profits, if you look at the statements from the SEC, which is the Securities Exchange Committee in the United States, which regulates everything in America, in the stock markets, they say that 90% of traders in general, forget Forex, in general, are not profitable. So out of 10 people, one gets out safe and in profitable situation. So if everybody, and those are professional traders that have been working from the foundations of banking and learning and getting licenses and algorithms and everything. So what about the person that gets a DM saying, hey, I think you can make money off of Forex or off of trading and whatnot. And the other person's like, hey, I need a couple of bucks. Why not? If the SEC says that out of everyone, 90% don't make it, you know, then we go to options. Then once again, we go by the standards of the IOFI, right? At first, I will admit, may God forgive me, I did trade options for a long time. I've never been on the downside of it because obviously there's a moral concept of you never want the company to go bankrupt or lose money. So I would never buy like puts, for instance. And I would never go into like margins. So I would never take a margin within an account and then pay interest on it. So I was always like, you know what? It makes sense to buy the upside, buy contracts and multiply it, make money overnight, you know, the get rich fast scheme. And I realized that in this, regardless of not holding anything, there's another aspect of Sharia compliancy that technically there's a lot of gharar. We don't even know it's speculation. I'm speculating that company XYZ might touch this price by this time. Did I get a revelation by Allah or something? Like, I don't know, but that's why I'm putting my money in. What's the difference between that and you speculating that it's going to be red or black when you put money in casino? Yes, people can say, oh, but there's studies, they can have their earnings, they're going to have this and that. I've been in that position. I was the one saying it until I realized that no, when you think of gharar and speculation, it is true. And most often, when it comes to Forex, if you use margins, which you will have to, because the Forex market does not go up 20% in a day. So if you're, as you said, often they know their target. They target single moms. She has saved up 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 in her emergency fund. They're like, hey, with 3,000, you can leverage it times 10. So technically trading with $30,000. The market goes up 1%. How much and if it goes up 1%, she has to use the leverage. What if it goes down? You get margin called. We know you lose the money and you don't even know how you lost it. When you go to options, there's an expiry date. Okay, let's say company XYZ is supposed to touch X price by the time of X time. Okay, what if it doesn't? People don't understand that holding something, which Islamically that is the Sharia compliance. You have to hold the product. If you were to buy something back then, you would hold it, bring it to the market, sell it. Options, you don't really hold much but a contract. And then if the contract expires, guess what happens to everything you put in it? Zero. So you can lose everything very fast. And then you realize, oh, maybe I made a mistake, but it's too late. But when it comes to actual investing, when you buy stocks, equity, you can hold it. If it goes down, that's what makes it halal. There's risk. But it's not going to disappear unless the company goes bankrupt. But then again, you obviously want to do your research on the company. But it's not going to disappear, not in a timeline. If it goes back up, alhamdulillah, you're in profit. If it goes down, be patient. Inshallah, it's going to happen.
Inshallah. I think there are not enough people who are giving that honest truth, like you just explained. Now, another thing I see often, this is with Muslim women, and I'm sure just in general, are people who are selling signals. So you join a Telegram or you join a Discord group,
Yep.
and whether it's with crypto or it's with stocks, which as you mentioned, can be a very good option.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see are the potential issues with joining one of these groups and using these signals?
So let's break it down again in two. There's a portion where a professional or expert trader wants new ideas. He's doing what he has to do on the side. He joins these signals even for him, if someone tells me every morning, do this, do that, do this, and I follow him, let's say 10 out of 10 times he's giving me the most amazing picks and it's working. Let's say, which doesn't happen, by the way. Once again, statements of the SEC, 90% of people, they don't make it out of it in a profitable situation. But let's say we're in happy land and it does. The day he's not going to give me a signal, I'm lost. I lost my capacity to analyze. I lost my capacity to understand. I'm going to become lazy. And once again, 100% situation where the person giving you the signal is really going to give you the best signals. He's like Warren Buffett and he knows exactly what he's doing, which doesn't really happen. But then again, in the meantime, that person is making money, right? He's giving you signals because you're paying him a fee to enter his Discord, his whatever they call it, Twitch, Discord, and WhatsApp groups. And that's one. The other thing is, what if the person gives you bad signals? You already pay him a fee. So you lost by the fee you paid him, and then you lost in the trade, and now you feel frustrated because you lost money off of listening to someone else. Rather, if you take some time, educate yourself, and go for the long run and let go of the get-rich-fast scheme, you might come up with something long-term, and it depends on no one but you and Allah.
I think what I'm hearing is there's really a clear distinction between trading and long-term investing. Can you explain for somebody who's new to the investing world? Because I think a lot of people hear investing and they get kind of confused between these two concepts. So everything you've explained until now is sort of this trading. What's the difference between trading and investing?
So when it comes to trading, it's very short-term vision, short-term profits. Once again, it gets back to, can you predict the future? Do you know it's going to go up or down? You can't. And then on top of that, we're Muslim, alhamdulillah. You're supposed to hold the product. When you buy a stock or an ETF or whatever you want to buy in the market, you don't hold it that second. There's a transaction, there's a delay period often. Now I think they're bringing it back down, but it used to be like a few years ago, it was 2 business days. So if you bought something on Friday and you sold it on Friday, technically you didn't own it till Tuesday or even Wednesday. And then again, there's the exchange rate. If you had Canadian money, they have to do a Forex within you. So you never even held that position. So it's haram, 1. 2, you're looking for something quick. When you look, we don't cut corners here. I've tried it. I'm being very honest. I've been trading since 2014, 11 years. But when I went into private wealth in one of the big banks, alhamdulillah, it was one of the best experiences in my life, alhamdulillah. Although obviously it was a sin, Allah is most merciful and forgives everything, but it was an experience. I learned from that. So when it comes to trading, you have money in your heart technically. I don't want to put it for everyone, but mostly you're trying to make a gain because you want to see that dollar sign. When you want to invest, you have a goal. Whether it's for your kids' education, whether it's for Hajj, whether it's for buying a house, whether it's for a retirement plan. You know very well that your retirement plan is not going to be made overnight on a trading. Yes, some people are going to say, yes, you can buy something, it might go the famous 10x. I'm going to 10x this overnight with option contracts. It can happen, but does it really happen to everyone? No. A lot of people lose, one person makes it, but we always look at, he made it, why not me? So the investing is long-term, it's consistency, it's being patient, it's trusting Allah basically. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when it comes to amal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes small and consistent actions. You can do one big action and then leave the rest of it for the rest of your life, or you can do small adhkar, your sunnah prayers, small consistent action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves on a daily basis. Trading, you can relate to that as a Muslim especially, you can relate to that the same way. Small gains, small dividends, you're going to make it, it's going to add up. And then at some point, you're going to look back, you're going to say, alhamdulillah, I put in the work.
Absolutely. And so we've sort of spoken about everything that we shouldn't be doing, everything we should be careful of. But you are a wealth specialist and you do help people invest.
Alhamdulillah.
So for Muslims, what is the best strategy if they're looking to grow their wealth?
So we're going to go into what we do at Manzil because that's where I'm at, alhamdulillah. I got the opportunity, alhamdulillah, when I was looking for the halal way and I quit the banks and everything. I was kind of confused. I was trying to see if I can make it on my own. Obviously, there's a lot of regulations and there should be like regulations in the investment world. And I fell on Manzil, alhamdulillah. And then I spoke to Dr. Sawaf, mashallah. He replied to me instantly, got in contact with Brother Jesse. And Brother Jesse Rateberger, mashallah, a sweet person, honest person, very motivating, very helpful. At first, I was skeptical of the product. I told Brother Jesse, let me look at what we're selling here. I need to believe in it. I'm not going to sell something I don't believe in. And when I saw the products we have, the honesty we have, and the returns we have, I was like, okay, we can make it. So to answer your question, going back to what is a way, what is a strategy? There's not one strategy. If you look into returns and whatnot, but there is a strategy, a global one, where is you trust Allah. Trusting Allah, you can do it in multiple steps. First one, You pray, you make dua, you ask Allah to guide you. Once you do that, you look at what's available that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us in halal situation. So right now we have a Sharia-compliant wealth management firm, Manzil Wealth. Basically, we're able to show you what we have, the type of returns we have, what we can do for you. But then some people think it's just about the number of returns. It's not. We're going to help you build a TFSA. You don't want to get tax on your income. You have a little bit of money. You don't want to lose that with taxes. Great. Let's invest in a TFSA. You have kids. Canada and Quebec gives you grants if you have kids. Especially nowadays, I get not frustrated, but I get upset when I realize that single moms have 2, 3, 4 children. They have bare minimum income. They're thinking of what am I going to do in college, university? Well, the Quebec gives you grants and we have it in a halal way. Why not? Free money given to you. Halal, no problem. And then people have high income. RRSPs, we can show you, listen, you can save money. Often we've been doing presentations the past few weeks in mosques and I have brothers saying, brother, I have X amount of money. I don't want to put in RRSPs. He's like, I'm paying this much tax. I'm like, the RRSP is not haram. It's halal. You're allowed to save on taxes. What's Sharia compliant or not is then within it, what do you do with it? We can help you with financial decisions. We can show you this helps you save tax. This is for kids' education. This for retirement. If you want to go to Hajj, there's this. And we do it for multiple type of accounts. And then we also have risk tolerance, obviously, right? So we have those strategies as well. We have multiple portfolios. So someone that wants to come in and be like, there's not one strategy, right? So that one comes in, he's like, I'm looking something for long-term retirement. I want to put my kids good. I want to buy a home in 5-10 years. There's a specific strategy for that. Someone comes in and says, I already have money. I'm just trying to preserve my wealth. I'm not looking for that shiny 2-digit return. We have that as well, alhamdulillah. Someone comes in, doesn't know anything. I have $50 a month. There's a strategy for that as well. While having within your heart the conviction that, alhamdulillah, what we have is standard Islamic Sharia compliance standards by AOFI, and your money is somewhere that you can safely say that I'm not going to get questioned, inshallah, Yawm al-Qiyamah, that why did you put it somewhere else?
Absolutely. And I was just going to ask, when it comes to as Muslims, the way that we manage our finances, we have a system in place. There is this system of Islamic finance. We have to use our finances in a way where we're being intentional, where we have integrity. And so I know you mentioned there's these different portfolios at Manzil. How are these products different than managed funds at the bank, for example?
So within the Sharia compliancy, the standards of the AOFI, which is basically, and I suggest any Muslim brother and sister to look it up, because even if we guys do it, I want you to know, it goes back to education, right? I want you guys to see why are we following the AOFI standards? What makes it so important? Within the banks, they don't necessarily look into what are the Islamic standards, right? Let's say, okay, very simple. Everyone know interest rates are haram. Riba, when it comes to loans. Okay. Some people to this day still think that some of the GICs, which are guaranteed investment certificates, are not. They are. They guarantee you money back. Okay, let's say they do know that as well. Let's push it a bit further. Some people say, I haven't touched interest in years. What's your money in? This mutual fund. I'm like, great. What is it filled with? Show me. 37% financial institutions. I'm like, well, how do they make their money? With interest, right? So there are standards. Among the common ones, a specific company that you put your money in. And then when it comes to, we're going to go even further after with ETFs, but let's say you buy one single company. You take all your money, you put it in the XYZ company. You need to know if that company is doing halal activities or not. Are they killing children? Are they selling weapons? Are they selling drugs, alcohol, gambling, adultery, so on and so forth? Or with, as simple as, once again, interest, a bank, right? When it comes to, alhamdulillah, Manzil, or any other Sharia-compliant institution by the AOFI, we make sure that that doesn't happen. We don't even give you access to that. We got a question recently by a brother. He was saying, if I open an account with you guys, can I use your platform to buy other things? We're like, no. I'm sorry, but no, that's the point. We're trying to make sure that no one does that. Otherwise, we're not Sharia-compliant, right? So the difference is, to get back to your question, we make sure that there's not haram activities within the funds. We make sure that there's not any debt within the funds. We make sure that they're not taking interest. Let's say we have a company XYZ that's doing amazing cars, but then they're using half of their own cash to get interest from the bank. You're profiting from that as well, right? So it's a whole spectrum of things you have to see. And I highly recommend everyone that's listening to this, go look at the AOFI standards, AOFI, AAOIFI standards. Type it in on Google. There's a document. You can find keywords if you want, whether it's options, whether it's derivatives, whether it's Forex, whether it's crypto, because we're going to get that as well nowadays. Look it up, read about it, and you're going to see that. Sometimes, just like me, you're going to get a big slap on the face and realize you were wrong, and it's okay to admit it. Alhamdulillah. Allah Ghafurur Rahim. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I think having worked at the bank, and you may have found this as well, I remember that a lot of clients that I spoke with, when I asked them, make sure that your investments are halal, they'd say, no. I spoke with my advisor and they made sure that it's in something halal, right? And I think a lot of Muslims, they're asking the questions, but maybe they just don't have that investment knowledge to be able to identify that, for example, a sustainable fund, a lot of Muslims end up in these environmental sustainable funds that are still not halal, but they think that it's the halal option, right? What are sort of, for companies, for banks that are offering halal investment options, what red flags should Muslims sort of pick up on to identify whether something is actually halal or if someone's just saying that it's halal?
So someone's going to say, ask a priest to explain to them the Quran, right? The priest is going to be able to read it because we have a translation in French. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, for instance. He's going to say, all praises to Allah, Lord of the world, right? But the priest does not necessarily understand the components of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he hasn't probably studied it, but he can read it. Same thing goes to an advisor. You can ask him, hey, I want my funds to be Sharia compliant. He's going to have a basic knowledge. He's going to Google what is Sharia compliant. He's going to look at it. Okay, he doesn't want pork, alcohol, the basics, and then put you in a fund, environmental fund, let's say, for instance. Okay, but within those environmental funds, a fund has so many companies within it. The activities must be studied. Their debt level must be studied. What they put their money into must be studied. An advisor at the bank, respectfully, is not going to do all that because if he does that to every single one of his clients, he's going to lose his time, right? So what a person should do and make sure that there's less like is that, okay, ask them a question, hey, XYZ advisor, do you understand the standards of Sharia compliancy? Person comes back to you and says, yes, there are 3 major criteria. Within them, there's this, this, and that. Yes, you can be reassured. And then when they do put you in a fund before buying the fund, as I said earlier, go look at the standards yourself and match the information. Often you're going to see that you're going to get surprises.
It's very true. And I think that funds is something that you have to be so careful because it's, especially when it comes to the bank funds, you have these target date funds, you have the fixed income. And so it's so rare to find a fund that really is Sharia compliant. In fact, to my knowledge, I don't think that it exists when it comes to managed options at the bank currently.
It does exist when it comes to the general market, and this is no promotion, no advice, but we have, for example, the Wahid Fund, which tickers HLAL. Someone can look into that and see, alhamdulillah, everything is compliant. And we have it at Manzil, right? But then again, let's say that is the case. Do you want to put all your money in one fund? Even if you find that specific fund. When it comes to banks, they're not going to start they're not going to build you a tailor-made Sharia portfolio because now they're putting all the effort for one client when every other client, which is not Muslim, are requiring something else, right? So yes, funds are complicated. There are multiple layered levels of information you have to process. And even if you do find that one fund in an XYZ institution, are you going to put all your money inside of that fund? It's not an advice, but you got to be careful, especially once again, if you're young and you want to risk your life, Bismillah, that's up to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you free will and He gave information and He gave you chances and He gave you everything. But when you're growing up, you have responsibilities, you have kids, you have a husband or a wife. And if you're willing to risk everything because you decided, you know what, I'm the man, I know what I'm doing, tawakkal to Allah, put your trust in Allah. Put it that way to be nice and kind.
So that brings me to one of the final questions here. I wanted to ask you, if you feel comfortable sharing, what is sort of your own investment strategy and what would you recommend to someone who is just starting? So somebody who's really never invested on their own before, but they really want to do things in a halal way, where should they start?
The first portion is going to be very short. What's my personal strategy? I have multiple ones. I'm not going to give you exactly what I do on a day-to-day basis because that's going to go back to us listening to someone else online. Another influencer saying, hey, do this, you're going to be rich. My strategy, not what I put my money in, but my strategy the other way, my mindset is read books. Warren Buffett, for an example. I think his mentor was Benjamin Graham. He wrote a book, The Intelligent Investor, as big as a Bible. I'll never forget that book. Red burgundy book, very, very boring. Who's the biggest fund manager? Well, he retired a few weeks ago. Once again, this is not Islamic advice. This is purely investment advice, right? Investment knowledge. He's the biggest fund manager. Berkshire Hathaway is the company that's making the most money off of the fund managers. So you have an example. And if you read his book, amongst the first thing he talks about is dollar cost averaging. And then you realize he's playing the long-term game. That's one of the main things. It's my core belief. And then after that, you look into Islamic. Obviously, you have to pair the information you have in investing with the information you have in Islam, and then you make a decision based off of that. That's my personal side. When it comes to someone that just started, is before putting your money anywhere, or even before getting with an advisor, take a few minutes, read about what is the investment world. There are some risks you have to take. You have to understand where your money is going to go. You have to understand when you're allowed to take it back. You have to understand why you're putting your money into this. You have to have goals. If you're just going, you know what, I have money, let's throw it away. Let's see how it goes. That's when you end up answering to that DM that says, hey, I'm going to make you rich in a month. Look at someone that does it the right way and understand why he's doing it, not what he's doing, not where he's putting his money, why he's doing it. Find someone that's going to give you the proper information and tell you, hey, this is what I did, this is what happened, and this is what didn't happen. Often, not a lot of traders put their losses online. And even if they do, they don't do it on a consistent basis. The red flags often are going to be, oh, you know what? If you pay me $300 now, I'm going to help you right now. But if you pay me in a month, my price is going to go up. You kind of feel that pressure. Okay, I don't want to lose on this guy. He knows what he's doing. He's driving a Lamborghini and he has money. The other red flag is going to be, I can guarantee you a return. No, unfortunately, you can't. You can't guarantee me anything. And the third one is going to be, you will always be depending. You're always going to be depending on them. So when you have these three red flags, you're going to realize that, okay, maybe this is not the person. You also might find someone that is going to say, hey, listen, this is what I do. This is what we offer. Take your time, read about it, go ahead. We get clients that come over and ask me a lot of questions, an hour and a half on the phone. And then they're like, okay, can we now have a Zoom call, a Google Meets call? I'm like, Bismillah, with pleasure. We get that Google Meets call, another an hour and a half, showing them all the charts and everything, our returns the past 5 years, the DOFI standards, what we do, what we don't do. And then they're like, okay, can I meet in person? I'm like, Bismillah, no problem. And by the end of it, sometimes they say, you know what? I understand. Sometimes they say, you know what? I'm still doubtful, and I respect those clients. Because now I know that this person, when he does decide to invest, he really put me through 3.5 hours of long conversations, but you did it with a good niyyah. No one's going to waste 3 hours with you without doing it for fun. He's just not doing it for fun. He wants to learn. He has a good niyyah. Even if he invests or doesn't. But if he does, he understands everything about it. If he doesn't, he's going to probably read more. I prefer that than someone that says, hey, here's my money. You do what you got to do at Manzil Wealth. And then something happens in the market and he doesn't understand. No. So for someone that's just starting, educate yourself.
Yep, absolutely. Someone who wants to work with you, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
So we have the Manzil Wealth, the Manzil website, and you can go into the wealth section. You're going to see a couple of people, including yourself, mashallah. You want to get in contact with me and you want me to set up a meeting, you can write me there. Or basically, I work with emails. I'm Faiz at manzilwealth.ca. Send me an email. I reply usually within a day or two, at worst 48 hours. Bismillah. Once again, there's no shame in asking questions. And there's no shame in not moving forward. I understand that when you're making a realtor move 2.5 hours for a cottage house and then you don't do it, you kind of feel stressed and worried. But this is all online. There's no shame in saying, you know what? I listened to what you said, Mohammed. I don't think it's for me. Alhamdulillah, no rush, no pressure. There's a reason for everything. I'm a big believer in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put reasoning and wisdom in every single thing. If it's meant to happen, inshallah, it is going to happen. And just one last thing, for people who often get tricked by the FOMO movement and the trading and the overnight success, and they're like, oh, what if I don't do it? I'm not going to make it. Whatever is written for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bring it for you if the whole world is against it. Whatever is not written for you, everyone can get together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to give it to you, you're not going to get it. That's about it, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I think that's a great way to end off. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experience, for taking all of your experience and now for using it to serve our Muslim community. And inshallah, I'm sure we're going to speak soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Barakallah feek for you and for everyone listening.
Sure.
Jazakallah khair.
All right,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.